Thank you. You may be seated. One of the things we want to do is to ensure that each person that recites the church anthem, and those that are from the Greenville campus is chiming in, and those that are from the virtual campus and also at the Greenwood campus, it's almost like we have to program ourselves to believe that we're supposed to be successful. I think this is one of the reasons we're dealing and looking at the life of David. We began with the 5 wise and the 5 foolish, and how that they were all innocent but not pure. And so when we look at David's life, we have discovered that he had many challenges, shortcomings, family issues, abandonment issues. There's a lot of things that David had to fight through. We've learned that he became anointed at the age of 15. He did not succeed until the throne until he was 30, and his reign ended when he was 70. He sat on there 40 years. And so sometime we were having this prior discussion in Greenville today, and I said this: David was both foolish and then became wise. And what we have to discover is that there is a time in our life when we are going to have the radical and the random outbursts. It's a part of growth. It's a part of life. One of the things that we do is we're externally and internally hard on ourselves. Sometimes it is not that others don't give you a chance. It's sometimes that we don't give ourselves a chance. You have one shortcoming, you have one mistake, you fail one test, you fail one semester, and we quit. And so what I want to do today briefly in the next few minutes is share with you that one step does not control your entire life. One misstep. The challenge becomes, do you really want to pull and get yourself together? If you are alive, you still have the power and the ability in God and in life to restructure your life. And oftentimes people don't, because when we go to Psalms 1, I will show you, I think it was kind of, the Greenville campus was kind of shocked this morning when they heard it explained a different way. It's not so much of a different way, it's just another slice of the revelation, is that David fell early on in his life, and he fell many times in his life. But here's the thing: he got up, he repented, he acknowledged it, and he moved on. The Bible says that David went on and grew great. If you and I continue to look at the same shortcomings, the same failures, the same misfires, we put our trust more in people than we do in God, and we cannot bring ourselves up. And sometimes we're trying to bring ourselves up, but we're not doing it the right way. So I said this previously: the past is behind us, but we're still beefing. Victim mode. We were talking earlier today about don't eat there. And when we look at don't eat there, it is a couple words and a couple things and a couple atmospheres that hinder people. First of all, the weakness and the feeding of your thoughts. What do you feed your mind? Here is a recommendation: feed your mind with the vision and the place you want to be. If you are a person that right now feels abandoned, you don't feel like you have a home or this, you have to start looking at homes or looking at apartments or looking at miniature homes. You have to start envisioning where you want to be to get control of your thoughts. Because as long as your thoughts and my thoughts or a person's thoughts are in random and radical outbursts, the very thing you said you wouldn't do, you'll do. And 90% of what you do won't be what makes sense. Does this make sense? You will drive 50 miles to avoid a situation, but you'll say you don't want to go to the store. But yet, because you want to avoid something, we'll drive, we'll go do these things. Rather than, I want the job, but I don't want to go to school. I want the position, I want the title, but I don't want to do the work. And so it has to come to a point in your place and your life and my life that we have to look at what we're feeding our thoughts, because our subconscious is designed to work against the betterment of the person. You have to be careful who you listen to. You have to be careful who you hang around. And I'll show you this. Let's go to Psalms 1 real quick. And this is the psalm that David wrote.
Psalms 1, verse 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly.
Now, the first thing we got to look at, and I think we've ran over that for years, it says, blessed is the man that walketh what?
Not in the counsel of the ungodly.
If you're going to write briefly this morning, write this. You can forfeit your blessing by the choices of your company. This is external company and internal company. You can forfeit. You can sign up to go to school, but not finish school because of the people you hang around that either quit school, didn't finish school, or didn't want to go to school. People who want to do something or want to be positive have to get around people that are going in the same direction. If you deal with people who come out of a sweaty environment, if you're not careful, you'll be sweating in the same environment. You can't want something, and see, that's the whole thing. This is one of the metaphors that hinder people, is I want something, and I said this earlier in Greenville, but because the people in your life always give you something, you think somebody's going to bring you something, and you lose the ability. It kills the natural instinct to earn it. Well, I know this is not going over well. Tell somebody we're going to get out real early today. Can I make it plain? Yeah. I said this in Greenville at the campus today. When you baby, when you shelter, when you pet, when you cover, you hinder. See, and our parents were completely different, and they may have been hard in some ways, but in some ways they were right. When you don't let life help develop your child, then your child will always be codependent upon you. There was a little bird, I was down here, there was a little bird that was, the body was bigger than the wings. It had a big old body, which means it's been eaten well. But the problem was it didn't have enough wings to carry its body. If it does not continue to flap its wings, it will not grow. If it does not continue to flap its wings, it can. How many times have you crippled, hindered your children, and now you're crippling and hindering your grandchildren because you have issues with facing the monsters in the room? So now they are an adult and they can't face the monster because their wings of natural growth and natural instinct can now not flap in the midst of a storm. You're tired, they're tired, the family's tired, but you keep undergirding. Life has a way of sharpening and shaping, and this is the very thing. And see, it's always easy to celebrate someone who has come through. Amen. But it is very hard to keep encouraging and pushing someone to come through. And so we've hindered the development and the growth because it says, blessed is the man that walketh not. So we forfeit our blessing because we continue to eat from the victim mode table. The common words around the victim mode table is thoughts, thinking, attitude, behavior, focus, and discipline. When you sit around the table with stress, you are hindering the opportunity of growth. Because we can talk about the problems, and we can sit around and talk about the problems all day, but where is the person in the room that starts thinking solution? We can say what so-and-so didn't do, they didn't do, and they did. But what are you going to do? And I saw that, and I should have videoed it. The little bird had a fat little body, which means his parents fed it well. But his little wings, I mean, it was just hopping, and it was trying to, his stomach was bigger than his wings, and it was just trying to fly, and it could not get, and the mama, I think it was a mama bird that was trying to protect it so it could get back to the nest, but she couldn't carry it back to the nest. See, it comes a time when our children, and it comes a time when our grandchildren and our brothers and sisters have to learn how to walk with their own two legs. And so the thing that we struggle with, two things, is accepting that change is needed, and two, taking the initiative to begin the process. Two things we struggle with. We just got about 16 minutes together. There's some people in here need to go back to school. There's some people that's on that camera need to go back to school. Because here's the thing, blessed is the man that walketh not. So we forfeit our blessing because we keep walking with people that we don't belong with. That didn't go over well. And many of them are not your family. God told his first man to get from among his, basically what he was saying, your daddy ways won't work in my relationship with you. And some of us are stuck with the residue of what our parents and our grandparents only knew. They did the best they could, but I'm telling you, fatback and Lord will kill you now. But our parents, our grandparents, my great-grandparents, they lived on the bucket of Lord. You don't know what it is, baby. You don't know what it is. They like, Lord Jesus, my God, what is Lord? Let's take one spin for the young folk. Just spin around in the chair. They don't know what Lord is. They don't know what a thing of Lord is sitting on the oven, on the counter, on the oven, and then when you start to heat up the oven, it'll heat up the Lord, and you'll smell last Saturday's fish grease. Didn't nobody worry about no bacteria, no hand sanitizer. Oh, girl, let me get a little spoon with us and put in my eggs. So your eggs taste like fish. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Yeah, they don't know nothing about that. You ashy, somebody just reach in the Lord bucket and rub your knuckles in the Lord. Just a little Lord. They don't know what Lord is. So they did the best they could. And so what we have to understand is, have we gathered new information to help sustain us and build a platform for our children and our grandchildren? Because here's the thing that I said in Greenville. What did I say? Bricks today establish foundations tomorrow. And it says, blessed is the man that what? Walketh not with the what? The unbeliever. What does that mean? I can do it. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. You know, it's okay. That's life. No, we need to stop saying that's life. We need to stop saying the struggle is real. Bad decisions is what is hindering people back. Feelings and emotions is what is. And so here's the thing. People think we in control, and all you need is somebody with some real good eyes to look at you and say, why you do that? You're a little old for that, aren't you? You had that with them horse knees out. You. Oh, Jesus. You should not wear shorts if your ankles are ashy. Am I making sense? There's some things that you should need to leave. There's some out, just because it fit don't mean it fit like it fitted when you bought it. Amen. Am I right or wrong? Because here's the thing, we keep living in events when we need to live in reality. And so there has to come a time. Now, who just took the two notes? That said, there's two things you got to do. And one of them, I think one of them is the process. What was the one before the process? Did anybody write that down? Do what? Accept that change is needed. See, some people don't think that they need a change. You can change your environment, but you take your same mindset to the environment that you're going to. See, some people want a new place, a new day, a new job, new relationship. That's fine. That's your right. But if you have not totally vacuumed out who you was will get in the way of who you're becoming. Because you have not changed. You change jobs, you change houses, you change cars, you change relationships, but you have not changed. And at some point, if that part of you is not dissolved, it is that part of you that will infect again. Remember I said, when you have been affected, it creates an opportunity to be infected. And so for a while, the honeymoon is great. But then after the honeymoon, all of the parasites and the shortcomings now come. So you change places, you change jobs, you change clothes, you lost weight, but you did not change your mind. And we have to understand the need for change and then embrace the process to change. So we don't like to be processed. We don't like to be developed. This is a challenge with men. You become a boy and all of a sudden you become a man, and you've never been processed, you've never been trained. Some people say you're brainwashed, but look at the difference in the results. You have nothing but your ego and your arrogance, and someone over here has built a company, they built several entities, and they're successful. But you feel like you're a man that they are. In the physical you are, but not in the mature, in the education, and the intellect. You're both physically males, but you've not done the same thing to get what you need. Does this make sense? So then you have to understand, if a person is resisting process, then listen, watch this. If a person that you're with is resisting process and they love you where you at, then they cannot love you where you're going. I love who you were in 86, but I don't know who you are in 2020. There's been a physical change, a mental change, and a spiritual change. See, we make the mistakes of falling in love with the moment. But the moment does not last. And if they don't embrace the process, then one will stop growing and the other one will continue to grow. So who you're going to become, whoever you with, do they have the capacity to love you forward? I guess that's a little too, let me go on back a little bit. That's a little too deep. Okay, let me bring that. Let me go back to this one. As long as we think we're broken, we're broken. That was too far down the limb. Okay, let me reel that back in. Okay. Yeah, save it for a later day. Because see, here's the thing. As long as we're broken, as long as we think we're broken, then we're broken. As long as you think you can't get up, as long as you think the mountain is higher than your boots, you never look at climbing the mountain. So I asked this question in Greenville, and I ask you guys this: which is better? The sharp pain of being delivered from a situation, or the nagging pain to stay in it? Which is better? Because some of us got both needles in us. We want to be delivered, but we don't want to let go. And in the midst of not letting go, the pain is literally nagging us. Can I break that out here for a minute? God has shown you that you need to go into the chrysalis for development. He has said here in Psalms 1, nor standeth in the way of sinners. In other words, you're not going to be there with the sinners. Because if you're there with the sinners, then where's the separation? And sitteth in the seat of the scornful, the markers, which means that you're reacting the way they react. You cannot say you of God and react the way the world reacts. Because the world is reacting over an event. You should stay with the process. Does that make sense? So I want to change, and I'm getting ready to bring this in, because if I go any further, we'll be out, tell somebody to be way out there on the river. So I'm gonna bring us on in. The sharp pain of being delivered from a situation is understanding the situation won't work anymore. The problem is, it's painful to let it go. The part that we don't get is we were part of the problem. And we have to go to the chrysalis, or some have to say the wilderness, or some say you go through your own metamorphosis. You have to go through it. The problem is we want to skip it. Because in that chrysalis and in that pain is where God operates on your spirit. And many times we shut our hearing off from God because the only thing we want is the blessings of God and not the relationship of God. We want the protection. We want the covering. We want to go to heaven. But yet we do everything that's associated with the world. So when the world has an issue, we respond as if though we're in the world, when we should respond through process and through trusting God and dealing with solutions. Instead, we're only focused on events. So, which is better? The sharp pain of being delivered? Because God can snatch you out. But it's a lot easier if you walk out. You hate for God to shut all four corners of your life down. Now you feel like God is holding you hostage. Can I help somebody understand when they say they feel like that? You ask God to save you. Now he's trying to save you. And you're dying from him saving you. Because you want to do what you want to do when you want to do it and how you want to do it. And you don't want God to have nothing to do with what you do. But you want God to come along and clean up your mess after you done messed up and said and opened your mouth and killed your blessings and walked away from his grace and left his mercy. Now you want him to come and back him after you done dropped all the lint and cookies and crumbs on the floor. And call that a relationship. Is that making sense? Yeah. Today's brick set up tomorrow. As long as we think we're broke, we're broken. Does that make sense? And I'm going to give you this as I close. Because I told someone in the back and said about 12:15 to be good. Well, it's summertime. People going on vacation. They got to get their outfit on. Oh yeah, I can break the needle off and leave it. I know exactly where I left it. I left it last Wednesday, didn't I? I left it in your arm. Then I couldn't find it this morning. But I give you this. There's no real room for growth if we're still harvesting our past. Before you or I can consider to move on, we have to close the doors of our past. I've said this to many people in business trying to start a business. Sometimes you can have too many windows open. And those open windows can cause you not to be able to pull yourself or finish the assignment because you're trying to do too many things. You're trying to please too many people. You can't please God and man and mama and daddy and sister and brother. And can I help you understand why everybody don't agree with you? Everybody don't have the same information you have. See, a disagreement really should be about a level of information and not about a challenge in attitudes and opinions. So that's what the disagreement should be about. It's the information and the process to the solution. And we just be falling out with people because they don't want to do it my way. But how do we know your way will work? And if it will work, is your way sustainable? Can I tell you why? Because too many times you lead with your feelings and emotions. You know the principles, you know the process, you know the standard. But how many times have you flown away or fallen out the nest and left the guidebook in the nest? How many of us would be like the little birdie, swole body, little wings, and we won't flap them enough to grow? So you're going to have to keep trying until you can create enough current under your wings so you can hop. And you have, old folk used to say, you got to crawl before you walk. But because you see others doing it, you think you can do it. Don't try to bring yourself to a place that you're not spiritually mature and ready to handle. This is why I say there's no room for growth if you're still harboring our past. See, you can have left the job that you can do what you want, and you'll come on a new job and think you can do what you want. You can't come to God and still expect to have your way. I know the preacher getting up right now in the pulpit, moaning and groaning, telling you about all these gifts and things God's going to give you. But at some point, God does give you a few gifts, and then he puts you in the field and say, now sow and fertilize, and I'll bless you upon your work. The Bible says faith without works are dead. So now if you believe that you should have that job, you pray for it, but will you go to school to get it? See, we think just praying outside is going to let us in. You're going to have to do some things to get in, and you're going to have to make sure your mind is balanced when you do go in, because you can't take that foolishness that you've been having in the valley and expect to take it up on the mountain. Ask me why. There's more room in the valley. Up on the tip of that mountain is thin, and you get up there acting like all out, you're going to be the fool around and falling off the mountain. Because in the valley, you got room. So if you fall, you hit the ground. You fall off the mountaintop, you got a long way to go. So the question becomes, is there room for growth? That cannot be established or answered until you have determined what you're willing to give up. Because if you truly plan to grow and you're full of stress and struggle and staggering now, how then can you, my brother and my sister, take on more when you're still full of you? God bless you. I'll see you on Tuesday, right back here at the Greenwood campus. Anybody got any questions?